So this is a tutorial for the advanced game. In Burning Banners you have the option to play the basic game, which I described in an earlier video, or the advanced game, which adds magic, heroes, and monsters. I'm going to use the same campaign that I used in the basic game video, but we're not going to play through the whole game. I'm just going to show you what changes when you're playing the advanced game. So let's look at the setup. Here we have basically what you see here is what you would see in the basic game setup. Each player has their own playmat, all of their units. What's new is you have a magic card display over here, and you have advanced game units that are going to go on your playmats. So let's look at those real quick. So these are Fjordland heroes, and if you look on the back, or on this side, there's a cost here. Fjordland heroes cost 2. Oathborn heroes cost 3. And then when you flip them over, you see which hero you're going to get. So what happens with heroes is they're going to get shuffled. You shuffle them up, and you're going to put them on your mat in the hero spot, face down. So when you buy a hero, you're going to spend the gold for it, but you don't know what you're going to get until you flip it over. So in this case, you flip it over, and it's Thor. So the other thing you're going to have in the advanced game on your playmat are monster control tokens, which are these. Each kingdom has 3 of those. They're going to go in these monster control spaces. The Oathborn have them, and it's just a little marker with this kingdom's symbol on it. And when monsters come into play, they become commanded by one of the kingdoms in play, and you put that marker on the monster to show who commands that monster. So same thing, they've got their heroes, which I'm going to shuffle. I'm going to put them in their hero spot. And then the Oathborn also have, for the advanced game, they have this Lost City of Khazud, it's called. This comes out based on a card, so that goes here. Until it comes into play, it sits there on the playmat. So that's the only difference to the playmats, is you're gonna add the heroes, you're gonna add the monster command markers, and then anything else that, you know, like if you look at the Army and the Knight mat, they have enslaved leaders, they're called. But anyway, everything over in this advanced section, you're gonna add to the basic setup. Okay, the other thing you're gonna do is you're going to set up all of the magic cards, and there's 3 different kinds of magic cards. There are spells, which look like this. They're blue. They have, or sort of grayish blue. They have a specific background, and they have all kinds of different spells. And I'll go through the anatomy of a spell in a minute. So let's look at one of these. Here, let's look at Blazing Hands. Blazing Hands is a good one. So, when you're looking at a magic card, this symbol here shows the requirement for playing the magic card. So when you play a magic card, usually you need somebody to cast that, and that's usually a hero or a monster. And the hero or monster has to have this symbol in order to play it. This is the mage symbol. So if you look, you can see he has a little mage symbol right down here in the corner. That means he's able to cast this spell. What does Casting Hands' instructions say? Caster, that means the unit casting the spell, gains 2 white dice, and this symbol here shows 2 white dice. So, for example, Ice Storm can only be played on your turn, but Blazing Hands, which has this symbol, which is the cantrip symbol, where are we? Here we go. The cantrip symbol, that means it can be played on an opponent's turn. So if opponent's attacking you, you can play Blazing Hands on my caster, and he will gain an extra 2 dice during combat. So all the magic cards, lots of different magic cards, lots of different abilities. They're fun. They're really cool. So they go on the magic card display in this space, which is the spell deck. This is the spell deck. The spell discards are going to go here. That's the discard pile for the spells. This, with the monster on the back, these are treasure cards. Treasure cards they're very similar to magic cards in the sense that they have a name, They may have a requirement for casting. They may be cantrips. Treasures don't have a discard pile because when you cast a spell, when you play a spell, it goes right in the discard pile when you're done. When you play a treasure, instead of going in a discard pile, it goes next to your playmat, and then you can get it back again. So spells are sort of one-offs. You'll use them, they'll go in the discard pile, you'll draw more, they'll go in the discard pile. Treasures, you play it, you keep it. You get it again, you play it, you keep it. So treasures are persistent. You hang on to them. They're called owned. So it's either in your hand or it's owned, which means it's right next to your playmat here and can be retrieved back into your hand. All right, the third kind of magic card are blessings. Blessings look like this on the back. These are kingdom-based spells. They're called blessings. So each kingdom has their own little deck that are specific to that kingdom. Only units of that kingdom can use them, and only heroes from that kingdom can cast them. These live next to your playmat for that kingdom, and when you draw cards, you're going to draw them from that blessing pile. All blessings get discarded into this pile. This is the blessing discard pile, and then at the end of the year, these get retrieved, divvied back up to the different blessing decks and shuffled. But they just have one blessing discard pile. The reason for that is that it can get kind of crowded next to your playmat, so we just have everybody discard them all there. If you look at them, this is Fjordland's blessings. So they are laid out basically very similar to spells. This is a reminder here that this can only be cast by or cast on to benefit units of that kingdom. So here's a water elemental. They have cantrips, just like regular spells do. And again, just like spells, these get cast and then they go into the discard pile. So there's a whole deck of cards that only work for Fjordland. So these live right near the main deck. The other type of card, these aren't magic cards. These are called hero cards. These are all of the heroes for your kingdom. So every kingdom has a certain number of heroes. They all have names on them and portraits, and they match the hero. So let's look at it. We had Thor. We said, right? Thor. There's Thor. This is Thor's card. So when you buy this thing and you flip it over, and you say, "Aha! It's Thor." You look in your bunch of cards and you say, "Ah, here's the Thor card." Okay, good. The rest of these just sit here, not by your blessings. Good. What does this do? Well, you flip it over, and if you see, Thor Jotunsen has his own sort of spell, which is called a hero power, which is a Sea King's Axe. Convert one white dice to one black dice when in or adjacent to water, and it describes what that means. Also, if you look up here, that just gives you a reminder that he is a mage, so he can cast spells. This just sits out next to your playmat as a reminder that you have this leader out. Some of the leaders Freya has an ability, Wings of Valor. It says lock. There's a keyword, lock. When a Fjordland leader is eliminated within 4 hexes of Freya, move it to a hex adjacent to Freya instead. So instead of eliminating the leader, basically she rescues it and it moves to a space beside her. And then after she uses that ability, she turns sideways, which means she's locked. You can only use the abilities of a leader if they're unlocked. So at the beginning of every Fjordland turn, she unlocks if she's locked, along with all your other heroes who are locked. And then if you use your power, you lock them again. So that's just a way of limiting the number of times they can use them and when they can use them. So we have a set of hero cards for Fjordland. We have a set of hero cards for the Oathborn. The other thing that you have in the advanced game, which we'll get into, is you have monsters. So there's 2 types. There are sea monsters, look like this, a few sea monsters, and on the back is the monster, the Leviathan. So you just set them up like this in a pile upside down. We'll put them over here. So there's the sea monsters, and then the land guys we'll put in this cup. So there's a bunch of land monsters in here. They look like, again, these are playtest pieces, so they're going to look different. They look different. But the tan color, well, actually, this is what they're going to look like in the game. They're going to have a red back. So what the monsters just sit here off board until they come into play. If you look on the map, there are hexes that are layers, and in the basic game they're prohibited. You can't go in them. You can't go in them in this game either. But that was really it. In the basic game, they're just hexes you can't enter. This hex is called the Sunken Temple, and if you look, there's a blue dragon head. That means it's a sea monster is in that hex. If you explore it, the Risen Keep, that's a land monster, will be inside the Risen Keep if you explore that. Here's City of the Dead. Here's Ancient Necropolis. Here's Frost Marsh Mansion. Those are all land layers, and there's one sea layer here in the Eastern Sea. So if you have an army that's adjacent to a layer, so she is adjacent to the Sunken Temple, these freeholders, as an action, they can move and then perform an action. She can say, I'm going to explore the sunken layer. So you can, or if I were here, I'm going to explore the Risen Keep. Go into the pool of monsters that you can't see. You pull one out, and it goes onto that hex. This is Osterlock, powerful undead wizard. He has a combat rating, 2 black, 1 white. Here he has mage, so he can cast spells. Here is his 6. That is the amount of gold that the Fjordland would get if they defeated Osterlock in this combat. So going into these layers is a good way to get money. You get money for that. Also, if he's defeated, you'll get to pull one of these treasures and put it into your hand. When Osterlock comes in, one opposing kingdom, in this case there's only the Oathborn, puts one of their monster command markers on him. And so we know that he's that monster is commanded by the dwarves. If he survives this attack, he belongs to the Oathborn, and when it's their turn, he can conduct a strike, and how far away he can strike is dependent on his type. Monsters, a sea monster can strike 4 hexes away. Caveat there is that it can only be traced across sea hex sides. Flying is 3 hexes away. Mage, which he is a mage, that's 2 hexes. Everybody else is adjacent. So Osterlock on the dwarf turn could strike any army within 2 hexes. If he's defeated, he doesn't get removed. He just flips over to his lair side. This marker returns to the owner. Fjordlanders would gain 6 gold. So they would gain 6 gold for defeating him. So 5 and a 1. And he would flip over, and they would also get a treasure card. So they would get this, the Astronomicon. The Astronomicon is a tome. A tome must be played in conjunction with a spell. So what this represents is tomes are spell books, and they help you cast spells with additional benefits. So when you cast a spell, if you use the Astronomicon at the same time, you get to draw a spell. So you play a spell, you play the Astronomicon with it, and you get to draw an extra spell after playing that one. The basic game uses text, only uses the text that's in black. This does get used for the advanced game. So when we're looking at this, we say, okay, they're going to get 2 of these and 1 of these. What does that mean? There's 2 different kinds of arcane study marker. Glyphs, which have this sort of sunburst effect, and they're sort of dark brown magical symbols on a gray circle. This is a churn marker, which is a sort of faded swirl, and that represents resistance to magic, which occurs in this world. This is the autumn churn. As the year progresses, it gets harder to cast spells, and that's what this is going to represent. So the autumn one is going to go in the autumn space, right there, and will be used when we get to the autumn turn. Until then, we have what the campaign rules told us is the arcane study pool, which is 2 glyphs and 1 churn. And if you look on the back, they have the same back. That's the arcane study symbol. So you're going to mix these up, and one of these is going to go in each space underneath the kingdom marker. So we have, there's those three. So we have 2 kingdoms in this game. The Oathborn are going to go first. So the Oathborn are here, and Fjordland is here. And so we have 3 of these markers with 2 kingdoms. So we're going to shuffle these up. Like I said, we're going to put 1 book under each kingdom. That leaves us with 1 book, and we're going to put that in the unused study markers space. So we don't know, remember, one of those is churn, and that's bad for magic. The other ones are glyphs that are good. So we don't know, this could be 2 glyphs, this could be a glyph and a churn. We don't know what that is. So there's a little bit of an uncertainty around how magic plays out during the game. At the beginning of the game, everybody draws to full strength in cards. So full strength in cards has a specific meaning. It is 3 spells. That's full strength in spells. It is 1 blessing from each kingdom you control. So remember, you could control multiple kingdoms. There are scenarios where there are up to 6 kingdoms, 3 on each side. One player could play 3 kingdoms on one side, and the other player could play 3 kingdoms on the other side. In that case, they get 1 blessing from each of those kingdoms that they controlled. In this case, we only each have 1 kingdom, so we each get 1 blessing. Now I'll shuffle this up. And then, so, 1 blessing gets added. Remember, treasures only come out of layers, generally. So you can have any number of treasures in your hand. There's no limit on that. But full strength, when you're drawing up, full strength is 3 spells and 1 blessing for every kingdom. So the dwarves will also get 3 spells, and 1 of their blessings. Let's say you controlled the dwarves and the empire in a game. Then your hand would look like this. Your starting hand would be this. You would have 1 empire blessing, 1 Oathborn blessing, 3 spells. So no matter how many kingdoms you control, you're only going to get 3 spells plus 1 blessing for each kingdom. Different. You can't have 2 Oathborns, you can't have 2 of these. These aren't maximum hand size limits. Your hand can get bigger during the turn than this, but when you're drawing or you're resetting your hand, you draw to full strength. So at different times you'll be instructed to draw to full strength in blessings or full strength in spells, and that's what that means. Is you're going to go to 3 plus 1 per kingdom. All right. So let's just look at these hands just real quick. So here's the Fjordland hand. So they have 3 spells: Ritual of Power, an army stacked with the caster. Remember, the caster is the guy casting the spell. Doubles the white dice in its combat rating. The white dice are the D6s. They represented symbolically by a white square. A black diamond is the black 8-side dice. So here, Summon the Dead. Target unit or monster in or adjacent to a lair gains 1 black dice. This here is the range of this spell. So this caster, what that means is this caster can affect the target unit must be within 6 hexes. Range of 6 hexes. Target unit or monster. Here, of the caster. Here, the target unit, monster, or garrison. A garrison is like a settlement, if a settlement is defending against attack all by itself. The target unit, monster, or garrison gains 1 white dice and ranged. But it has to be 2 away. So this one can't, the caster has to be 2 hexes from the unit, monster, or garrison that's going to gain those benefits. That's what the range means. And then this one, Berserk Rage, Berserker Army, which is a specific kind of army. This one only affects the Berserker Army. This symbol means that it can only affect Fjordland units, and there's no requirement. So you don't have to have a mage or anybody. There's no real caster for this. It's something that the Berserk Army can do on its own. This and this mean these can happen on the Oathborn turn or on your turn. That's up to you. These can only be cast on your turn. spend 3 gold to buy a hero. Let's see who we get. We'll get this guy. This is Dara. So we look for Dara in our hero pile. Here's Dara. Dara Firemane. Her ability is Lightning Rune. As a cantrip, she can lock to gain 1 white dice. And she's a mage, most importantly. So we'll put her here. Put the blessings up here. So Dara, and Dara can be built anywhere a unit could normally be built. So right here we can't build here because we are besieged. Remember, you in the basic game you can't stack at all. Meaning put 2 people in the same hex. In the advanced game, you can put a hero with an army, forming a stack, and these guys can move around as if they're just 1 unit. She moves 4. This army moves 2. So if they were to move, they could only move 2. They can't move 4. If Dara were here, she could go 1, 2, pick up the miner, 3, 4. The miner's only spent 2. She's spent 4. That's also legal. You can pick up and go like that. So at the beginning of combat, before dice are rolled, there's a sequence of magic cards that can be played. It's the only time that magic cards are sort of very, very rigidly regimented to when they can be played. You know, if it's your turn, you can play them kind of whenever. If somebody else's turn, you can only play cantrips. But the way it works when you're in battle, for battle magic, is that the attacker can play any number of magic cards that they want. Once they're done playing magic cards, and they can be cantrips or not cantrips, once they're done playing cards, the defender can then play as many cantrips as they wish to play. Once they're done playing as many cantrips as they can, or they don't have to play anything, then the attacker can play cantrips of their own. So a lot of times it's a good idea if you're attacker to hold your cantrips until you see what the defender does, and then you can play your cantrips. So it goes spell, defender cantrip, attacker cantrip. And then once the dice are rolled, the battle magic restriction is lifted and you can play cards normally again. So Dara says, we're not going to play any spells. The defender, so he will play this cantrip, Mage Arrows. Target unit, monster, or garrison, so in this case unit, gains 1 white dice and ranged. So he's going to cast, so Thor is going to cast Mage Arrows to give these freeholders 1 additional dice, and they have range, so they will win ties. And then this spell gets discarded. They could play another spell, but they don't have anything else. This Berserk Rage only works for Berserkers. That's a freeholder, and neither of them are cantrips, so that's as far as he can go. Now, Dara gets a chance to play cantrips if she wants, and she definitely will. She's going to play Spirit Blade. That's a cantrip. Gain a white dice. So she gains a white dice, gets discarded, and then she will lock to use her Lightning Rune to gain another white dice. So she'll have a total of 3 white dice. The Fjordlanders will have 1 white dice from the what was it that they cast? The Mage Arrows. They get their 2 combat rating, and they get 1 additional for the mountains. So that's the combat. So we'll roll the combat. 1 hit for the Oathborn. No hits for the Fjordlanders. If they had rolled 1 hit, because they have range, they would have won the combat, but they didn't win the combat, so they are going to be reduced by 1 for the 1 hit. So now Dara's finished. The Oathborn are done. So there's a new step to the turn called the Arcane Study step. So the Oathborn are done. We flip over this counter to see what it is. This is let's say it was a glyph instead. This is a glyph. A glyph means that arcane study happens normally. Churn means it happens in a more abbreviated way. So during the arcane study phase, players perform arcane study depending on what kind of arcane study marker is revealed. A glyph study up to 3 different disciplines: churn, study one discipline. So that's a glyph, that's a churn. So we're saying we picked a glyph. A glyph means we can study all three of these disciplines of study. Every player, not just the Oathborn player, but all players. If it were churn, you'd have to choose one of these to study, only one. So, but because we have a glyph, we're going to do each of these. So the first one is study spells. Draw to full strength. Remember what that was? That's 3 spells. Each player draws to full strength and spells. Player may discard 1 spell before drawing. Okay, so let's look at each of these players. So we have Crushing Vines, Summon Morag. We'll get rid of the Morag first. So we're going to get rid of this. We only discard 1, and then we draw 2. So that will bring the Oathborn up to 3 of these. And the second one, Study Blessings. Draw to full strength and blessings. Player may discard 1 blessing before drawing. Full strength is 1 blessing per kingdom control. Well, we use our deep paths, so we get to draw another blessing. We get Secret Ways. So this is the new hand at full strength. The Fjordland can also do the same thing. So studying spells, they use 1. They could get rid of 1 of these. They'll get rid of Ritual of Power. It's not so great. And that leaves them with 1 spell, so they get to draw 2 more. That's full strength and spells. 3 spells. 1, 2, 3. So there's their 3 spells. Ritual of Vigilance and Black Tide. And they're going to get rid of Berserk Rage. You can discard 1 of your blessings because we don't have a Berserker and they're very expensive, so we're probably not going to get one right away. So hopefully we can get a card that will be more helpful. Gita's Favor. Fjordland gains 2 white if it occupies a wilderness hex. That wilderness is swamp, forest, or mountain. So this is actually very helpful to them. And it's a cantrip. So cantrips can be used on the opponent's turn. So Fjordland now has its full complement. So that's Arcane Study. So we've completed Arcane Study. Arcane Study. Well, if anybody had a treasure sitting here, so let's say Fjordland had used this treasure. Oh, you can't really see it. Let's put it here. Let's say Fjordland had used this treasure and now it is owned. It is sitting by his thing. You can. The third study is study treasures. Retrieve 1 owned treasure. So this treasure is owned by them. They could retrieve it, meaning put it back in their hand. So they would get their treasure back. So that's done. That moves the turn to Fjordland's turn. At the beginning of the player's turn, if Tor Jotunson here was locked, he would unlock. He doesn't have to lock. Dara doesn't unlock until the beginning of the next Oathborn turn, so she's still down 1. She stays locked. Well, we want to get some money. So, these Sea Reavers with Tor Jotunson are going to go to here, and they're going to explore the ancient necropolis. So, we're going to, that's a lair. It has a red border around it, meaning it's a lair. So, we are going to pull a monster from the cup, and it is a harpy. So, a harpy, let's see, what does a harpy do? A harpy gives you 1 gold if you defeat it, so it's not that much treasure from the harpy. The harpy only has 1 white dice, however, for a combat rating, and it is a flyer. What that means is that if the harpy survives this battle, it can strike out to 3 hexes range because it's a flying monster. So we will put a Oathborn control marker, command marker on that, so that the Oathborn command that harpy. It is not a mage; it can't cast spells. However, Dara could cast spells in support of it if she has a cantrip. Let's see what she has. If she has range, Cloud of Darkness 4. That's a pretty good one. She could use that one. All right. So let's see. Tor has. He has 2 white. The the Sea Reavers have 2 white and 1 black dice to start. They're probably not going to spend any spells because they think they can beat that guy. Does the Harpy, or did the Oathborn want to play any spells? She's not going to do anything, so the Harpy's going to roll 1. Oh, that's a hit. And these guys are going to roll their 3 dice. Okay, when attacking a lair, there's no terrain dice. You're going into a small group of adventurers going into the lair to fight the Harpy. The fact that it's in the mountains is irrelevant. There's no terrain dice when you're fighting monsters. So she also rolls 1. They also roll 1. So those cancel. So the Harpy does survive. They don't defeat the Harpy. Thor is going to cast Ritual of Vigilance. Caster's stack becomes ready. Whoops, where is it? Yeah. So this is the caster. That's the caster stack. They become ready. Now they're going to use an action to attack the Harpy again. This time they want to be sure. So they're going to do Summon the Dead to gain an extra black dice. So that is going to be 2 black dice and 2 white dice for Fjordland. Dara is not going to cast a spell. So, Tor this time scores a 7. That's 1 critical hit. So 1 hit. Now let's see if the Harpy can pull it out. No, it rolled a 1. So the Harpy's defeated. 1 hit against the Harpy. 1 success will defeat any monster. So this is gone. She's going to flip over. The Fjordling gets $1. Flips over the Harpy, and we'll get a treasure. So the treasure is Draconic Shield. So, requires a mage. Not all treasures require mage, but that has a mage requirement. Play when the caster is in an unfortified hex and is attacked or targeted by a strike. The opponent only scores successes on rolls of 6 or better. You are treated as if you were in a fortified settlement, just wherever you are, if you have a leader with this Draconic Shield. So we'll keep that on our hand. That's a good defensive card. It's a cantrip. You can play it on the opponent's turn. What we're going to do, we're going to buy another hero. Buy a hero for $2. And this hero will go... Oh, who is it? It's Freya. Freya. She is the Valkyrie. Yeah, interesting. So, here's Freya. Here's Freya's card. Wings of Valor. We looked at her before. Lock her. If a Fjordland leader is eliminated within 4 hexes of Freya, it just goes and joins Freya. So, she's going to go there. That's a lock, and it's a cantrip. She's going to move. She has a movement of 8. These Valkyries have a movement of 3. So she's going to go 1 to join the Valkyries. 2, 3. She's going to attack Fort Gorod here. There's no Dara 1, 2, 3, 4. Dara's within 4. Freya's going to attack here. Freya, would you like to use any spells? She says no. Then Dara says, Freya says, would you like to play any cantrips? And Dara says yes. I'm going to play Cloud of Darkness. Cloud of Darkness is a cantrip. Range 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Discard a spell, cancel an attack or strike against target hex. So she has to discard Black Tide. Too bad, that's a good card. But it cancels the attack. Freya is now finished, and no attack goes in. So the Fort Gorod is hidden in a cloud of darkness, preventing the attack. So that is pretty much how the advanced game is played. It's really the only variation to the game are there's heroes. There's, as a result of heroes, there's stacking. So there's some stacking rules that come into effect. For example, if you like I was saying, if you build, if these guys are ready here and you build with them, you come in ready. If these guys, if Dara's here and she's done, finished, and you build a unit there, that unit is also finished, and so that it shares the status of the other unit in the stack. You can pick up people and go. So Dara has a movement of 4. The miners have a movement of 2. She can go 1, to 3. 3 is less than 4, and the miners themselves only move 2, so that's less than they move. So that's a legal move. Leaders can use ship movement like normal. There is one special rule with leaders that we didn't get into, which is feral. So, if you remember, there are certain units which are feral. It's like this guy. He's feral. If you look at the symbol at the top there, his build cost is a feral cost. So feral units are animals. Normally, in the basic game, feral units aren't really distinguished, but in the advanced game, they are in this way. If a feral unit enters a settlement, instead of getting money for it or controlling it, it simply raises the settlement, and you don't gain control of it. So they just burn. If an animal breaks into an enemy city, they just destroy it. If you have a leader stacked with the feral army when it enters a city, it behaves like a normal army. So you can put down a control marker. You loot just like a normal army. So a feral army without a leader is much more restricted than in the basic game. So leaders help feral armies behave like normal armies. In the same way, feral armies can't use ship movement, but if stacked with a leader, they can. If a feral unit defeats a monster, it doesn't get any rewards. You don't get treasure, you don't get money. But if it's stacked with a leader, it does gets all that. So leaders help make feral units much more effective. We can look at that. So let's say this wizard was out. It was the Oathborn turn. He's a mage, so he could cast a spell. So let's see what we got here. He could cast Crushing Vines on this settlement here. Strike 1 and 1. So you could say, okay, he's going to strike. He missed. Well, discard a spell. He'll do it again. There we go. 1 hit. He would basically burn this down with his strike. And the magic in the game, very fun, very exciting. Storytelling moments are fast and furious. You can always come up with a cool story for what's going on. If you're feeling like you're out of the game, magic cards can help keep you in it. Real fun. So that's it. So that's the advanced game. I hope you found that instructive. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, or if you go to boardgamegeek.com or consomeworld.com, there are folders for this game there, and if you ask questions, either a player or myself, we will answer your questions as soon as possible. Anyway, have fun. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.